Honey here today. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Life's kind of crazy. Being a young man, it's trying to make it happen is a very wild journey.
Dude, how old are you?
I'm 20.
20? I
Yeah.
just turned 26 a few weeks ago.
How was that? Or I'm sure you did something for your birthday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Blue Peddler.
Oh, that's what you did?
Yeah.
Hell
yeah.
yeah. Was it a fun time?
Oh, yeah, man. Like, I used to work with them all the time, and my boy Steven Brown, he's the owner, so he comes on there, hooks us up, and you just can invite like 13 people, and it's always a good crowd,
Yeah.
going around town and just doing whatever you want to do.
So is it like everybody just gets on there, there's drinks, and then you just listen to music, have a good
Yeah.
vibe?
Yeah, it's BYOB, and then you get to hook up on the Bluetooth and just have your own vibe,
Hell
and
yeah.
you'll get dropped off different places if you want to, or you can just ride around on it, and yeah, it's always just a good time.
Hell yeah. You brought all your friends out?
Yeah.
Of
Oh,
course,
yeah.
of course.
Oh, yeah.
But no, so we'll get into your story a little bit, man. We talked a little bit about it before. We want to start from the very beginning. So what was life like for you as a child? How did you get into the journey that you're starting now?
Yeah, man. So I grew up in Charleston, West Virginia, born and raised. Moved here to Lexington when I was 20 in 2015. When I was 18, went to UK and all that. But yeah, life was very different. I mean, West Virginia, Kentucky, they're kind of similar,
Mhm.
but also very different. Just the people I was around growing up versus now. Like all my buddies to college, they all went to WVU, West Virginia University in Morgantown, which is a fun time, a fun ass time.
Yeah.
But I wanted a whole new experience.
Right. You wanted to get out of your hometown and experience life a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Which is how I arrived here. Just meeting all new people, and I'm still close with some of my homies from back then. But
Of course.
if I went to that school, my whole life would have been so different.
Yeah, it would have been
Two
different.
different paths.
Yeah. What were you thinking before you moved? Like what were the thoughts leading up to before you moved, and like how before you left, how did you feel like it would turn out? You know what I mean? Like what were you kind of thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was kind of unsure, but I was sure that I didn't want to go to WVU
Yeah.
because I knew all those people, like, and everywhere, they say it's a big party school, but anywhere is a party school if you want it to be,
Yeah.
But I wanted to just get that new experience, new people, new circle. And I knew that eventually it would put me on a different path than
Yeah.
staying on that similar path that I was already on.
What did you have to overcome to like get yourself to leave your hometown? Because it's definitely not easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're comfortable, everybody is there. Like what was it, especially did you know a lot of people here at all?
No, I knew like two or three people maybe.
Yeah, so when you got here, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, and that back then there was this app. I can't remember what it was called, but I met a bunch of people like on this app for people going off to college.
Yeah.
So that was cool because I met a bunch of them when we got here because they were in a similar situation.
Like they had just come from another state. And
Yeah, exactly. So we would all meet up and stuff, and that was cool. But I guess I didn't really think too much about it. I mean, people ask me questions often about like, like what was holding you back or what were your thoughts going into it? And I feel like a lot of things in life, I don't think too much about it. I just put
just do it.
myself in that situation.
There's a beauty to like just making it happen as it's going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes I think when you plan too much, it gets in your way. You know what I mean? Because if you sit here and you're like, oh, it has to go this way or everything's got to go this way, and something doesn't go as planned, it really can like alter your path. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean? So I definitely think like spontaneous decisions are sometimes very, useful. They can be helpful, like
Yeah.
especially feeling. Like I said, with you coming from a whole nother state, what did you want to pursue as soon as you got here? Because I know you went to school at UK. What did you want to pursue in school?
Right. So when I first went to UK, I was like on this pre-med path studying neuroscience, which I did eventually graduate with. But I was on this pre-med path, working my ass off, trying to maintain this GPA and pursue this dream that I ultimately realized was not for me. But at the time, I didn't realize that. It wasn't one of those things that I knew until after the fact.
Like after you had started it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I still went through with all that. But I was telling you before that I graduated with my neuroscience degree, which I was hype about. It was dope,
Yeah.
and it's still dope to talk about. But I studied for the MCAT, applied to medical school, and I applied to 13 schools
Wow.
and didn't get accepted to a single one. And I really was like, it was honestly like a sigh of relief.
Did it take a shot at your ego kind of? You were like, damn, I applied at 13 places and didn't really get a call back or
Yeah, for a second, it did, but I think that's the moment. That was like my epiphany where I realized I was like, wow, like I feel like if this is what I wanted, I would be more hurt by this.
right.
But I wasn't. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air.
Like it kind of gave you the freedom to be like, okay, this actually isn't what I want to do.
Yeah, because I think if it was what I wanted to do, I would have made that happen.
Yeah, you would have felt really bad about it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
everything in life, from that point, if I wanted to do it, I made sure I did whatever it took to do that thing.
Right, exactly. So what as a kid made you want to get into medical school or the medical field?
Yeah, so my dad is a podiatrist. He's a foot and ankle surgeon, which I think feet are grody. I don't, that's not for me.
Yeah.
But I was kind of exposed to that, just like I think a lot of other kids that had parents that were doctors and
Yeah.
stuff. And
So you were kind of pushed down that path, like kind of like the taking over the family role.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit. And my dad, he came from a different place. Like he's from Iran. I'm half Persian. So his story is kind of cool. He moved to the United States when he was 18, like $500 in his pocket.
Oh, I
Didn't
love
even know English, which I think is a pretty cool story, pretty motivating to me. And that was, back then, this was like the 70s. Like it
Yeah.
was like, oh, you become a doctor or a lawyer, and that's how you make it, right?
Yeah. Well, at the time, that's like what the ideal like citizen is. You know,
Yeah.
like yeah,
I think
100%.
that image has definitely evolved since then.
A lot. It's evolved. Yeah, I mean, even talking to like your parents nowadays, like people our age, it's like you try to explain social media and you try to explain how people make money and stuff like that, and they're just like, what?
Yeah.
You know, it's just yeah, dude. Time has really changed a lot of different things, especially like economically, and just all those different all the
Social
different factors.
expectations, like
Yes.
how you make money, all the above.
Yes, exactly. But no, I'm sure hearing your dad, at what age did you really understand his story? Because I'm sure he told you as a kid, but like at what age were you really like, oh, he sacrificed everything and made that journey over here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I realized a little bit in high school, but I felt like it wasn't until I came to Kentucky and was exposed to a whole different world, more variety of people, like seeing where people were like coming from the absolute worst but making the best of it, or
Exactly.
even people coming from the absolute top
Yeah.
and not doing what they could about it.
Yeah.
Kind of humbled me and made me realize like, damn, like my dad did all this. So like if he did this, like I can do anything.
Right. Exactly. Well, even you making that journey yourself, it's not as far as your father, but even you just, taking that leap to be like, yeah, I'm gonna move out of my hometown and, sacrifice everything almost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Honestly, it's a great way to put it.
Um, no, so with your dad, I'm curious, what knowledge has he given you at like through your journey? Do you talk to him a lot about it, or do you kind of like just shoot? How does your dad play a factor in your story?
Yeah, I mean, my dad and I were definitely very close. Um, and people back then, he was always telling me like it was a thing with like foreigners that like, oh, like if you want to be a doctor, like it's going to be 10 times harder for you than like
Yeah.
somebody that came from here. Which I mean, I'm sure that there's definitely a truth to that. But he told me he even had an advisor that said he absolutely won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
So he took that advice at first because he didn't know any better, and
Right.
he graduated as a petroleum engineer,
Oh wow.
which is kind of almost like 50 like flip flop
Yeah.
from what he does now. So he graduated with that and was not able to find a job. So then he went back and got all of his prereqs because he was like, like fuck what that
And
advisor
then show
said.
something different. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, now I've realized like if I did this, I can go back and do that.
Well, that's kind of the American dream. You can pursue anything you like.
Yeah.
Dude, oh, I love stories like that, bro. I respect your dad for that.
Yeah, man, me too. And even now, like it still like comes to me from time to time, like realizing the capacity of that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not easy at all. Was he with your mother at the time, or did he meet your mother here?
Nah, dude. So he flew into DC and it happened to be a spring break for Marshall University,
Mhm.
which is where my mom's from, Huntington, West Virginia. So I always say I'm half Persian and half
Yeah.
redneck. But yeah, so he heard these girls speaking Farsi, his native language, walking down the street in DC, and he comes like yelling at them like in their language,
Yeah.
and they probably thought he was this crazy man. But he eventually ended up going back with them to Marshall University in Huntington.
And that's how he met your mom.
Yeah,
That's actually a really cool story.
Kind of crazy, right?
That's awesome. Okay, so we'll get back into your school story. So you're going to school to be, in the medical field. You don't get accepted into your schools. Where do you pivot from there?
Yeah, man. So this was like 3 years ago now, just about 3 years ago. And I had honestly not a damn clue what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was like, this was the path that I was on, and if it doesn't work out, I'll figure it out. But I didn't have any direct idea of what I was going to do.
Yeah.
So I spent that summer. I did some different sales jobs, like door-to-door sales for internet, for Windstream,
How was that?
which was it lasted a good month, but
Yeah,
it was a
door-to-door is-
very learningful experience.
Yeah.
In that time period. But that whole summer trying to figure it out. So one time we were with some of my dad's friends from college and stuff, and that we meet up with them every single year. But he was like, "Hey Cam, like you should go on a test flight." And I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, and he was saying, you just go out to the airport and you do what's a test flight essentially, and they take you up for an hour with a flight instructor and their planes, and you get to take control for a little bit, just get an idea of what it's
Yeah.
like. And for me, it was one of those things I was like, I didn't even think about like that's a possibility. Like you can become a pilot.
Right.
No,
Yeah, it's just not something that you think about.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
unless like your dad's a pilot or whatever.
Or yeah, you hear it word of mouth. Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
but it was never even a thought that crossed my mind.
Yeah.
So I took his advice because I was like, well, I got nothing to lose. Trying to figure it out. So I did that, and man, when I did that, it's like one of those things. Like when you do it, it's like this feels right. Like
You just felt like you were where you needed to be.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was like one of those feelings. Like when I got back on the ground, from that point forward, I kept like looking up at the sky, like wishing I was up there.
Yeah. So you just felt really drawn to it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
after that experience, like what were your thoughts? Like I know you said you wanted to be back up there, but how did it change like kind of your path and what you want to do after you landed? Were you like, damn, I really want to do this. I want to pursue it, or like kind of how did that go?
Yeah, I mean, so I did that, and then a few weeks later is when I processed these thoughts. Took me a little bit to actually process the experience as a whole.
Right.
But yeah, and then I guess I just kind of went back a few weeks later, and I enrolled in their program, and I felt like it was all history from there.
Yeah. Was that the first time you ever flew? Was that practice flight?
Yeah, yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Dude, it's such an amazing feeling the first time you fly. It's kind of like it really is kind of breathtaking seeing the world in a different view.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm sure you were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean that was my first time like in a single engine plane.
Yeah.
I'd flown plenty of times
Commercial.
before that,
Yeah.
but in like that type of plane where you see everything and
How
like
is that? Like, you're it's a lot more dangerous too, isn't it?
in a way,
Well, not dangerous like crashing, just in the sense like it's just you right there. Like
Yeah.
if like theoretically you pass out, it's only you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I still think about that. Like
Yeah.
after you start your training, a few months into it, you do your first solo flight, which is a big milestone, which is where you're not with the instructor or anybody.
Yeah.
It's just you and the plane. And that's like I said, the milestone. But when I first did that test flight, that solo flight, and you're up there by yourself, just for like 10 minutes, I'm like, holy shit, like if I don't land this thing, I'm dead. Like
Yeah,
this is on me.
exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I'm a real pilot now. I don't know.
Well, you kind of got to be once you
Yeah,
start heading toward
like
the ground.
that's like life or death right there.
yeah. Oh my gosh, dude.
Have you ever been in one of those small
Oh no,
planes?
no, dude. I've probably only flown, I'd say like 5 times, 4 times, and they've all been in big planes. And I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, so like
Yeah.
I kind of throw myself at planes. Like I'm like, oh yes, let's do it. Or like, I'm curious to how you feel about this. Would you ever skydive?
Dude, I want to skydive so
Considering
bad.
you can
Yes.
fly planes.
Yes, I want to skydive so bad. Like, I mean, I'm an adrenaline junkie myself.
Yeah.
And side note, we'll have to go up sometime. For real.
Oh
For
fuck
real.
yeah, bro! I'll
My
definitely
plane's just
take you
like
up on
right out
that.
here at the airport. Like 10 minutes, we go whenever.
Dude, that's so
Yeah, we'll
badass, bro. That's like the most, yeah. We'll just go take the plane.
No, for real, we'll all go. Whatever.
Dude, I'm curious. So one thing I love to do, and he hates on me for it, bro, but I find it so like soothing, like driving Kentucky back roads,
Yeah.
right? How is it when you're up in the sky and you're just like by yourself? Thoughts? What's going through your mind? Like how is it inspirational? Like for when you get back on the ground, you're like, damn. Or like how is it? What are you thinking when you're just sitting there solo?
Yeah, like that's something I used to do. I had a bad day. Maybe I'll just go for a drive by myself,
Yeah.
jam on some Kentucky back roads. And now when I have a bad day, I'll just go out to the airport and fly and be above all my problems.
Yeah.
Like I always say that whenever I'm flying, it's like nothing else matters in that moment.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think you're probably the same way, but my mind's always running like, what's the next thing? Like, what am I
Oh,
doing?
100%.
And when I'm up there, it's like the only moment in my life where nothing else matters.
That's amazing that you have something like that.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, I mean, a good example of that for me would be like basketball. Like when I'm playing basketball, it's so much easier to just kind of like focus on what I'm doing and just play the game. So I'm sure flying like that for you is kind of the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the true sense of freedom.
Yes.
It's like, you're just like, I always think like, oh, like I was just down there, like there's my house.
Yeah.
And now like everything's so small.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of humbling, like gives you perspective of the world.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. Like the first time you go up in a plane, it's kind of like breathtaking. Like you're like, holy shit, this is actually what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's so funny. So when we scheduled the podcast, I was literally thinking about it. I was like, I wonder what it's like just sitting up there. Cause like I said, I knew you flew the single cockpit, and I wanted to ask you that question because I really am truly, like I said, I find it so freeing, just the back roads of Kentucky. So being up in the air, it's like literally what, 20 times more than that. So I'm just
Yeah.
sure it's so freeing, bro.
Yeah, dude.
That's
For real,
awesome.
we'll go sometime and y'all can get a good view of what it's like.
Hell yeah. So we'll move past that just a little bit. So what do you want to do with being a pilot? Like, is there like what are some things that you can, upgrade to? Like what is next for you in piloting or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a process, as in like there's different levels to it, of course.
Yeah.
Like, like you get your learner's permit, and you get your driver's license and whatnot. So the first license you get is like essentially your driver's license,
Right.
which is called your private pilot, which sounds cooler than it is, but
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much like your driver's license, and I have that now. I got that about 2 years ago, but pretty much with that you can go up anytime as long as there's good weather,
Right.
and take like 3 people in the plane, however much the plane can take. Not too big of a plane. There's obviously restrictions to that.
Yeah.
But then from there, once you hit, everything is hour based in aviation.
Okay.
So once you hit your 250 hours, that's when you can get your commercial license, which I always compare to like a CDL.
Right. Okay.
So I just got my 250 hours just like 2 weeks ago, which is I'm super hype about, because every hour up to the 250, you're paying for yourself.
Oh, okay.
Like every single hour.
Yeah.
And then not even to mention the hours that you do of training, where you're paying an instructor on top of paying for the rental of the plane.
Right. Exactly.
So getting the 250, this is like a big milestone. So now I'm about to start studying for my commercial license, where I could technically fly people for money, or I could go.
So are you not able to charge people for flights yet?
Not technically, no.
Yeah.
No. No. So it's just like it's just different levels to it.
Yeah, exactly. Do you plan on well, I know you got a lot going on. So how is that like when it comes to your priorities? Do you plan on like flying commercial planes? Like do you want that to be your career and then kind of do the photography and stuff on the side, or like how do you want to throw all of it in together?
Yeah, I mean, aviation is definitely number 1 for me,
Mhm.
and photo video stuff is number 2. But I don't. My ultimate goal is not flying commercial planes.
Yeah.
Like
Like PJs?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the goal. Yeah, like really, the 5-year goal is I wanted to own my own jet
Yeah.
and start my charter company.
That would be sick. That'd be
That's the
sick.
goal. Called Swipe Jet.
Swipe jet?
Swipe jet.
That's
So
what you want to call it?
yeah, bro. So I already got the rights to the name and everything, and the domain name.
Yeah.
Swipe jet being the premise, it's like the Tinder or the Uber of
Yeah.
private jets. Because right now, to get a private jet, I've never like flown on one. I've like stood on them and stuff,
Yeah.
stood in them, but never like gone on a trip in one.
Yeah.
But it's like a whole process. Like you got to email, call, etc.
Set it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
all that.
I want it to be as easy as
You just
getting an
make
Uber.
it like an Uber. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Swipe, and then your jet's there wherever you want it to be.
Hey, hopefully nobody's watching this that can do that sooner.
But I can't get too deep into the details of how
Yeah.
I plan to get there.
Yeah,
But
of course.
yeah, for sure.
No,
for
that'll
sure.
be super sick. I always what gave you the idea to do that? Just something innovative, something new?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been like entrepreneurial minded, which is why I think also like the whole doctor stuff didn't work out. Because rewind just a little bit, I became a personal trainer in 2018, and I was a personal trainer for 6-7 years. And I just closed my business last September, but I ran my own thing. It was called Coach Cam Personal Training.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much like my whole identity up to that
Was
point.
being a personal trainer.
Yeah. Which was it was cool. And I could never be where I'm at without that, because of the people I met.
Right.
And not to mention the business skills and networking skills that I learned from that.
It's just a whole learning process, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But that's kind of just like a small step into my journey, into this chapter now.
Yeah. What made you pivot away from that?
I mean, dude, I was getting up at 5 a.m. every day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Like it was a grind, man.
Were you able to just pick your schedule though?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I didn't do like one-on-one personal training. I did something called semi-private training. So I would be training 2 to 3 people at once.
Right.
As in not like I'm not like on their back the whole time, which is like if I ever had a trainer, that's how I'd prefer.
Yeah.
I have like, one guy on the barbell, one guy on the dumbbells.
Kind of just
another-
doing their own thing, but you're like kind of spectating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Which I think was the way to go. Plus I could technically make more. For example, say
Having more people.
yeah, if you got one guy one-on-one and you're charging 60
Right.
an hour, then I could have 3 people paying 30.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a
Exactly.
win-win on both sides.
More people, more pay,
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So now where are we at in your story? So you've gotten out of college, you started doing your the flying. So how did photography get thrown in there? Like how did that become a part of the mix? Because like I said, you stopped being a physical trainer, you got into the pilot, and then What brought you to that? Was it just something that you have you always kind of had like a side passion for it, or like how did it
Yeah, I mean, I've always had this like creative sense of me. I like to draw that most people don't even know about, but I just do
yeah,
it for fun on my own.
to be creative? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And like everybody has a thing for taking pictures in a way. But yeah, dude, like I flew planes for like about a year and a half, and I didn't start any photography until legit a year ago, just about a year ago today.
Yeah.
And like yeah, like I mean, I had like a little Nikon camera before that. It's like your basic starter
Yeah, like
camera.
the startup camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which definitely taught me a lot. But like my camera I got now, my Sony A7 III, I just got that a year ago,
Yeah.
and that's when I started like doing it professionally. And I haven't even had a chance to like sit down and like reflect on my growth in the past year. But yeah, I started doing that while I was still personal training, and then that started really taking off.
Do you ever think that having a lot in your, like you said you didn't have time to reflect. Is it hard to have a lot of things on your plate and then like also really like stay focused on those things?
Yeah, for sure.
How do you keep that all together?
Honestly, I think flying is where it balances out.
It gives you that time to
Yeah.
like really, clear your thoughts and everything.
Yeah, like, a few months ago, there was a period in, like, January, but I didn't fly for, like, 4 or 5 weeks,
You're like,
and
fuck, I gotta get up there.
yeah, and I felt like something was missing, and I was
Yeah.
like, I had all these things piling up that wasn't anything more than usual,
Right.
but it felt like it was because I was like, "Something's missing."
Like you didn't have that release.
Yeah,
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 exactly.
exactly. Yeah, so I think aviation keeps me grounded, ironically.
Yeah, that's right. No, I had a question. We'll go back to the piloting just for a second. So, have you ever had any like scary, like life threatening, or like there's been a storm come in, or like you had any crazy stories up there?
Yeah, yeah, only twice, thankfully, and obviously it all worked out because 'cause I'm still here,
Yeah. Well,
but,
we don't want them to happen, but when they
yeah.
happen and you're down here, it's good stories, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a
Yeah.
good story for later. Yeah, so like literally the first time that my siblings, I got three younger siblings, and the first time that two of them were flying with me, like ever, we were on a family vacation to Lake Norman, North Carolina,
Mhm.
last summer. So I fly down there, all good, and then I'm flying back on a Sunday, Sunday afternoon, evening ish, and weather's all good before I take off. Then I'm flying over these mountains in North Carolina, Tennessee, and it wasn't projected in the forecast or anything, but then these big thunderstorms start
Oh
rolling
gosh.
in,
Yeah.
and like I could see the lightning in the background.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what size plane you're in, you're not flying through lightning,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So that was the only time in my 250-hour plus of flying that I landed and waited for the storm to pass.
Really.
Because dude, like it was like a crazy perspective. I could literally see the clouds.
Yeah, I'm sure that's
It was
wild.
like here was my path, and then these clouds were like boom right there.
Yeah. What were you thinking? I just got to get to the ground. Like, like what's your first thought when you see the clouds? Like, is it like survival instinct, or are you just kind of like, what's gonna happen? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you train a little bit for that type of stuff, but it's different training for it, like
Until it
simulated,
happens.
until it happens,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So yeah, I was like, checking out my radar. I was like, okay, like, can I go around it, above it? Obviously not below.
Yeah.
And from what I saw, I was like, there's no option because it's getting darker, and when it's dark out, you can't really see the clouds as much.
Yeah.
So I ended up landing at the closest airport in Tennessee, and I waited there like 2 hours, man.
And
And
it eventually passed.
yeah, yeah.
I have a quick question for you. So, when you're flying, how do you know you're not gonna hit? Like, I'm sure there's routes and everything, but how do you know you're not gonna hit another plane? Like, you're kind of flying blind sometimes.
Yeah,
Is that not like kind of terrifying? Like there could be a wall. I know there's not a wall in the sky, but like you're driving through a cloud and you just hit an invisible wall. Like that'd be so terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, like, most of the time you're on with like different traffic controllers,
Yeah.
and they're most other planes are on with them too. So they route you around for traffic.
Mm.
I have onboard traffic on my plane, so it tells me like literally which way they're going, what altitude, what speed, everything.
Right.
So it's not terribly hard to miss a plane, I guess.
Yeah.
But I always think about like, you're driving on a road and you got just this yellow line between you
Yeah.
and the oncoming car. Like that's all you got.
Dude, I'm not scared of much, but dude, car wrecks are something I actually do not mess with at all. They give me what?
Yeah.
Well, obviously nobody likes, no, but like they actually just make, like, even just thinking about them make me so uncomfortable, bro. I don't know what it is. I can only imagine a plane though. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen or heard anything from like like I'm sure there's a lot of old guys that fly, right? Have you ever heard any of their stories, or like, you have an old guy walk up to you and be like, hey, Sonny, this is a story when I was flying. You ever have any of those?
Dude, you hear them on the radio all the time because they all talk like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure I haven't heard too many crazy stories because also the thing about pilots, I feel like as a whole, is they're not going to tell you a lot of their crazy stories because it kind of decredits them in a way.
Right, exactly, because you want to be a good pilot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
I mean,
I
if
get what you're
anything,
saying.
that crazy happened. Like the
Yeah.
story I told is like nothing crazy. Like that was the right move I made.
Yeah.
If I tried to fly through it, that'd be a different
It'd
story.
be so much more
Yeah.
dangerous, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have to watch out for birds?
Oh, dude, yeah. Actually, like that's more of a concern than other planes.
Really?
Yeah, like I mean,
Can't like one single bird take down a whole plane?
yeah, I mean, yeah, technically, yeah. Especially, I mean, even the big planes.
That's wild. You wouldn't. Why is that?
I don't know. It's kind of like, like it's kind of like hitting a deer on the road, right? But in a bird in the sky, you're flying maybe opposite directions, like
Right.
hundreds of miles per hour.
Well, hundreds of miles per the velocity. Okay.
Yeah,
I get it.
and then
now.
like say like even in my plane, say they dent the propeller
Yeah.
or whatever happens, or maybe they hit the wing and it puts a big dent in it. The
Yeah.
plane's not flying the same.
Yeah. No, dude, that's
Yeah,
that's why other people are pilots. There's not very many of them because, dude, I don't know, man. Piloting, it seems so fun, but also so terrifying.
But sometimes those moments are what make you feel most alive.
Oh
right?
yeah, 100%. Like you said, adrenaline junkie, man. It's,
Yeah.
Like, have you ever thought about like riding a roller coaster and thinking about if it falls off?
Yeah.
Like you just being in the air, like a fucked up situation.
Yeah,
what I
for
mean?
sure.
Dude, that's so messed up.
Like, what if we just like go upside down and then like just fall out of my
Yeah.
seat?
Dude, actually, that made me think of so you being a pilot, when you watch stuff of other pilots, like you hear the stories like Flight, like the movie Flight with Denzel Washington. What do you think about stuff like that?
Gosh, like
Like, okay, so
I mean,
for me, that seems like so crazy unrealistic. Like,
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? But for you as a pilot, what do you think about it?
I mean, obviously, like, and even in that movie, for example, like my first thought was like, oh, like I'm gonna fly upside down now to get the plane under control.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's a little bit one of those things, like you got to experience it to say what you're gonna do.
Right.
But I don't know. I think that risk is like kind of what makes it enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, also, if you have a bunch of passengers, you're kind of going to do whatever
Yeah.
it needs to, land the plane safely.
like whenever you have an emergency and you declare it to like the traffic controllers, like
Yeah.
say I declare an emergency, the first question they ask is how many souls are on board.
yeah.
I don't know why they use the word soul and not people, but I feel like the word soul is like
Maybe
more.
because you're in the air. The
like-
soul.
Oh, true,
There you go.
true.
What's the max people you've had in your plane so far?
Just 3.
3?
Yeah, just 3.
I'm sure you plan on doing a lot more than that, right?
Yeah.
What do you feel like? Because it actually is a risk taking somebody up in the air, and like kind of they're trusting you to make sure that you can do your job correctly. What do you like? Do you prepare ever? Like, do you have like anything that you like a little ritual or anything that you do before you get on the plane, like a prayer or anything like that?
I don't know anything like ritual wise, I guess, but like I kind of have like my thoughts on the way to the airport. I'm like thinking about the weather and thinking about things I'm going to do in an emergency situation. And whenever I take somebody new in my plane, I always have like a brief like passenger briefing in a way.
Yeah.
As in like don't touch this, but you can touch this, and if this happens, like here's where this stuff is. Here's your barf bag if you need it.
Yeah. Make sure everybody's held accountable for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was flying with somebody for the first time last week, and we flew down to Nashville, and I was joking with him, and he didn't realize it at first. But we were coming in to land in Nashville, and I look over at him, and I'm like, "So, do you know how to land this thing?"
Oh my god.
And he low key started freaking out.
He's like, "Oh shit, what am I supposed to do?"
Yeah. And then obviously I was joking, but I mean, you can always like mess with people like that. I guess it is a lot of trust.
Oh well, yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I fucking have a hard time trusting people driving me around.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Oh,
So
same.
driving a plane is way different.
Same. That's definitely one of my big thoughts. Is like my biggest concerns, I guess, with flying. It's not another plane or birds, but like if something were to happen to me,
Yeah.
like what would happen?
Oh no, 100%. Yeah. I mean, even never wish this on anybody or even yourself, but like something like you just having like low cholesterol or something, you like passing out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or something simple.
anything.
It could be something simple. That's what I'm saying. It could be something very simple to cause a big, something big to happen. But we'll steer a little bit away from the piloting. We got into how photography kind of started. So what do you want to do with it though? Like you added photography in this past year. What do you really want to excel with, or how do you want to excel in photography? Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I do photography and videography. Videography is definitely more of my focus. But I always say you can't be a good videographer without knowing how to take a good photo in the first
Well, yeah,
place.
either or, yeah,
Yeah.
videographer, yeah.
Yeah, but like social media now, especially, it's
Oh, yeah,
all video based,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like we're here, we got 2 cameras set up and all that. So like I think that video and business are going to forever go hand in hand in some capacity,
100%,
which
yeah.
even like 5 years ago it definitely was not that way.
Yeah, I mean, marketing itself will be the sole reason of that.
Yeah,
Not even with the entertainment part, like marketing itself will, yeah,
yeah.
100%.
So like obviously like the goal with any business is you want to move up into higher profile clientele and higher pay and all that. But like my real goal is just to continue moving in that pattern, and ideally the people I will meet with that are going to help me in aviation as well. Like
Right,
I see video, photo, and aviation going on parallel paths
right.
to help get me
So
to
they
that
each
goal.
kinda take you like this.
Yeah, exactly. Almost
100%.
like a ladder, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. What specific type of content do you like? Do you like shooting ads? Do you like shooting, like, music videos? Like, what do you like doing specifically in videography?
Yeah, I mean, music videos are dope. I've only done a handful at this point, but most of what I do is like commercial business work. As in like I did this video for Clark's Pump and Shop. They're a gas station.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like it's a gas station, like, but my whole thing is like I want to make the gas station look like the dopest gas station you
Yes,
ever seen.
seem larger than life through video.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
Like my goal with photos, videos, whatever, is helping people or the business see themselves in a way that they never have before,
Yeah, they
in a
wouldn't
positive
normally
way.
be able to see themselves. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So you definitely like the marketing side more, like working with companies rather than trying to work with, not saying you don't, but like rather do business side rather than entertainment content style.
Yeah, I mean, entertainment. I do love entertainment content. It's fun,
Yeah.
but it's also cool to be able to showcase business in a way like if you think like business video, like I feel like it's all pretty standard.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to set like a
So
new standard.
yeah, so you're trying to throw some spice into the game that's kind of mellow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
especially because I like came out of nowhere in this whole industry. I'm like kind of like the underdog.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like be. There's this term called the disruptor. I'm
Yeah.
trying to be the disruptor.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come into a space and make a bang.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
So what do you got coming up? Do you have anything like any specific plans that you're working on? Any big ideas? Anything coming?
Yeah, so like, with hitting this 250 hours in aviation, I'm trying to become a flight instructor.
Yeah.
But with that, I'll be able to, even take someone like you into my
Yeah.
plane and teach you how to fly,
Right.
safely and legally. But I also want to document that whole process on video.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just aviation as a whole is something that a lot of people don't know about. But I'm trying to incorporate more video stuff into aviation. I
Right.
got GoPros and stuff, and I mount them to my plane. And there's always the entertainment factor, but that's not what keeps people around. Is
Right.
entertainment. People want value,
Yeah, exactly.
especially free value. But the free value is also how you transition to that paid value.
Right, exactly. Just out of curiosity, would you ever be interested in like flying stunt planes for like Red Bull style kind of?
Dude, I want to do that so bad.
What
Like,
do you know what the like learning curve would be, or like how dangerous is it just to even say I want to learn? You know what I mean?
I mean, I could technically do that. Like, I could have done that a year ago, technically.
Yeah.
Like, started that process. Here in Kentucky, there's not as many resources to do that.
Yeah.
Like literally, like even after you get your first license, like it's not that crazy to go into that.
Yeah.
Like even within 6 months.
Oh wow.
Um,
So it's not that big of a learning curve, but it's definitely something to.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a learning curve. I guess I can't say from experience, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a learning curve. But it's just the availability of those type of planes
Right.
is not as far. It's not as wide here in Kentucky.
Well, they're really special. Like they're super small. They've got special like
Yeah.
thingies.
Yeah, they got like special fuel pumps that like if I were to go upside down my plane right now,
Yeah.
fuel would not be going to the engine anymore. They have
Okay. I
they
see what
have
you're
fuel
saying.
pumps that go both ways.
So you can do that. Okay,
Exactly. Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, but dude, I want to do that so bad. Like, did you see that guy that landed on that helipad in Dubai?
Oh, and he went like this, and
Yeah.
then yes,
Yeah.
yes, I did see that.
It was like the
That's
shortest landing
badass.
in the world, and he's like 6,000 feet in the air.
Yeah,
And then
dude.
they literally had nitrous in the plane for him to take off again.
Yeah.
Like you
The-
don't even hear about that.
The crazy thing about that is that's definitely a way to go into a space that isn't too like there's not too much content around aviation. Like you said, it's not too well known. That's definitely a way to make a bang, make videos like that. Is
Yeah.
that something that like do you really want to make content around that kind of aviation, or is it kind of just you're gonna get in where you fit in?
Yeah, I mean, I follow a bunch of like pilots and aviators and even video people that do aviation too,
Mhm.
but I'm sure you probably don't.
Yeah.
right? So like to me, like I see that all the time, but I know also in the big picture, it's a very small niche.
Right.
So like I don't really even think there's a standard there yet because it's such a small niche. Like I kind of just make videos as I please and as I find fun to with aviation.
Yeah.
But I think the educational content is definitely valuable in education.
Yeah.
It's not as fun as like
Well, it's educational content is always more timeless most of the time.
yeah,
That's just how it is. Like there's those guys on YouTube that make racks by doing like you've seen the how to like how to set up your home monitor
Yeah.
or like the Wi-Fi box. Like there's videos that have how to set up Wi-Fi routers that have millions of views. It's the educational content last, man.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, I don't know where I fit in with aviation and video yet. That's something I'm still trying to figure out.
Yeah.
But
Well, you're 26, man. You're young.
yeah, I
You
mean,
got a lot
and I
fun.
just started this a year ago. You know, I know I'll find my place when it feels right.
Yeah.
Kind of like where I am now. I just everything up to this point has felt right, and you know, I just follow those intuitions.
That's awesome, man. Like I said a little bit earlier, that's great that you have something that you can feel like that about. I want to go back just a little bit though. So I want to talk a little bit about your neuroscience degree. What were some of the big takeaways from having that experience?
Dude, I mean, it was not easy. Like, obviously, it's like you know the study of the brain and whatnot. It was dope to do. Like, I learned so much, and I still know a bunch about that stuff. But I think the biggest takeaway is like the work ethic I learned from that.
Yeah.
Because I think if I mean, I'm sure if I had another degree, I would still have a level of work ethic.
Right.
But to earn that degree and pass everything, and you know,
Well,
do
medical school itself is just a lot more strict, like hard, strict. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Cutthroat.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if I went on that path, I would just now be finishing medical school, but just the school part, not even like the residency and all
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Not even getting into a hospital.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
now, like that was like 4 or 5 years ago. Now I've already had all these other experiences that if I was on that path, like that guy never would have had those experiences. I definitely would not be here right now.
I think it's so great that like literally in the text you sent me, you said that's the best thing that's ever happened to you. I think that's cool that you were able to like see it and acknowledge that that was like a big pivoting point for you, and especially like how you went into aviation and now you're getting into other things.
Yeah.
We'll kind of pivot from neuroscience. If there's anything you want to say about that, feel free. But what is something that you don't do now that you kind of would like to get into, or even adding into what you already do,
Ooh, that's a good question.
like or like a hobby that you think you could take further?
Dang. I like those type of questions. I like those questions where you don't know that answer right off the bat.
I mean, I think one thing about like us being young and us trying to decide it's hard because there's so much to do, right? There is so many possibilities. Possibilities are literally endless, right? It's hard to sit there and you know, say, I want to do this for sure, or I want to do this, or like, I don't want to waste time on this to be able to do this. It's a lot of decision making. And I think being young, it's kind of a hard decision. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You don't want to waste time, but you also want to do things that you love and you want to do things that you're passionate about.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like off the bat, like I like to do other creative stuff,
Mhm.
and I haven't had the time to go through those creative outlets. Like I like to draw, you know, not for anybody but myself,
Yeah.
just like in a sketchbook or whatever. And I like to play piano. I play piano for like 10, 15 years.
That's cool.
And I'm not like crazy good or anything, but like I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
It's an outlet. And I used to be able to put a lot more time into those things. And I guess that would definitely be the top two things that the goal is, of course, you know, with all these things I do or anybody does, is to have more time to do the things that you want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, I do love what I do, but it takes time away from those things. That
Yeah,
we're talking
100%. One thing that, you know, kind of scares me, or not scares me, but it's just like something to think about, you know, throughout this whole process and journey, you know, something I try to tell myself and the people around me, it's important not to lose why you started. You know what I'm saying? Because the same things, like you said, the same things that you're trying to get more time for and doing what you're doing, if you lose that in the process, then what's it for?
about. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you don't want to go through this big long journey of creating, you know, whether it's money or whatever the resource or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And then after you're like, you just lose the reason why you started. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's really tragic when people do that. So that noise threw me off. What was it? Oh, trash can. All right. But no, so piano and drawing. Do you are you interested in making like crazy content, or like when it comes to content that you're creating, what do you kind of want to do? Because I know you said the commercial stuff,
Yeah.
like for business marketing. Would you ever be interested in like, well, the reason I ask you is what comes to mind. Like you could do like a piano video while flying a plane.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like you could go in the cockpit, start flying the plane, put it on autopilot, go back there and do a symphony or whatever they're called, and like go back and fly. Stuff like that would be sick. I
Yeah.
think that'd be definitely a way you could,
So I have these ideas about those videos. Like, I did this flight the other week, and it was like a 2-hour flight, which is a semi longer flight when you're by yourself. And I
Yeah.
was literally like up there, like I had my seat reclined, autopilot on, and I was like up there editing,
Yeah.
like flying the plane, and I got stuff done. It was dope.
Yeah.
But I do think about stuff like that, like even bringing a podcast into the plane.
Ooh, that would be fucking badass.
Right?
That would be so badass.
I've kind of like been approached about that type of stuff. Nothing has solidified.
Yeah.
But there's definitely ways to do it.
How much space do you have up in your plane?
So I guess like if we were like sitting, there's 4 seats, so it's like 2 and 2.
Yeah.
So if we were both sitting in the front, we probably have about like 6 to 8 inches between our shoulders.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, like
not
definitely
bad.
more space than if you're sitting in the backseat of a car.
Yeah, dude. Backseat. Well, you're pretty tall.
Yeah,
so,
I don't do
mean,
backseats.
Yeah, backseats of the cars are not friendly to me, man.
I'm not
Fuck.
a backseat guy.
Yeah, Jesus, dude. Driving is the best spot for me.
Yeah.
Literally, driving is the best spot. I hate even driving in the passenger seat. Like we said earlier, dude. I hate. Okay, I don't know if I'm just crazy, but when you're in the passenger seat, it feels like you're gonna go off the side of the road. Like when you're out on the country roads and stuff. Because you feel like you're so close, but as a driver, you don't feel that way.
I almost get anxiety when I'm in the car with the other people.
No, exactly, 100%.
I don't know if it's like a control thing.
Yeah.
I think it is probably a little bit.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm the same exact way, dude. One time, I'll tell a little story for the fans real quick. So one time as a kid, I had a dream, and it affected me actually. Like this dream affected me outside of my dream for a long time. So I was in the dream. I was with my mother, and we went to go like take a turn. And long story short, we wrecked real bad. And like after I woke up, I really thought about it. Like it really fucked me up. You know what I'm saying? Getting a wreck with my mom.
yeah.
And then so every time she would go to make that turn, like if we were taking a turn and turning left, so I'd be on the right side, like getting hit, it like fuck with me in the head. I'd be like, damn, I don't trust it. You know what I mean? It's crazy how dreams can affect you, or like just those thoughts can, mature into real life like feelings, you know what I'm saying? Outside of just having a dream.
Yeah.
Dude.
Dreams are a whole different thing.
Dude, dream. Actually, did you learn anything about that in your neuroscience?
Yeah, so like the most memorable class I took in neuroscience, it was on like circadian rhythm, and dreaming was part of it.
Yeah.
And that has always stuck with me. Like I'm so big on dreams. Like, we all love that movie Inception.
Oh, dude.
So I've done so much research, like just on my own, like outside of school, way
Yeah.
past school, about lucid dreaming. Because I don't know if just naturally I'm a lucid dreamer, because I have so many dream experiences that I remember and I feel in control of. So I did research on it, and I started keeping a dream journal.
Oh, that's
So,
actually cool.
Just like literally in my phone, like what you do is like, if you have a dream, you wake up, and as soon as you wake up, just type it out or write it out or whatever. And doing that process over and over again, you get better at remembering your dreams. Remembering, but also being in control of them, like knowing that you're dreaming.
Right.
And sometimes, you have recurring dreams.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're the same dream that have different outcomes, or sometimes they're dreams that build on top of each other. But having that journal written out, like I feel like your brain, you're putting it into the physical world.
Right.
You're taking it out of your brain and putting it in the physical world.
Do you think that the dreams that you have are not only caused by things that happen in real life, but do you think there's like true merit to dreams? Like, do you think there's a reason why you have all your dreams?
I think there's a reason, not for every single dream, but I do think that, your dreams are coming from your subconscious.
Right.
And often your subconscious is, something, it's what your subconscious is what you're not aware of.
Right.
So maybe sometimes your dreams are trying to communicate to your conscious self something that you're not conscious of yet at that time.
Right. Is there anything through documenting your dreams and your experiences in your dreams, did you see anything specific, or like, did you get any knowledge from reading those? Like that, or you said something about reoccurring dreams. Like, is there something that you noticed would reoccur a lot, or like it would reoccur after something in your real life would happen? You know what I'm saying? Was there any like pattern that you noticed?
Yeah, I guess I need to make that correlation to real life and like that time frame. But like there was a dream I had that it kept building on itself. It kept building on itself. And there's too many details to share, but it kept building on itself. And then the ending was just like so whack, and like it kind of was scary.
Yeah.
It was a scary ending, honestly.
Yeah.
And it was like a really positive dream that like I thought about often. And then this crazy ending happened.
And you're like, what the fuck?
And I was like, what the fuck? Like that was like devastating.
Yeah.
Because I was like emotionally invested in that dream.
Yeah. Dude, have you ever gone to bed and then you're having this crazy good dream, and you wake up halfway, and then you're like, "Fuck, I want to go back to
dude.
sleep."
Yes,
Dude, that is the
yes.
worst.
That
That
is
is the
the
worst.
worst.
Or like waking up from a bad dream, that also sucks. Or like just talking about waking up out of sleep. Have you ever like accidentally taken a nap midday and you wake up and you're like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah.
That's literally the worst. That
Yeah.
is the worst.
So
I
the
hate
time I
that.
have my most vivid dreams, which it like correlates with your sleep cycles.
Yeah.
Like so you dream the most in your deep sleep, your REM sleep. And whenever if so like say you were to, go to bed at midnight, wake up at 8, and then you go back to bed at like 10 a.m. That's when your sleep cycle would essentially continue. So just say you take a nap at 10 a.m., a
Yeah.
few hours after you first wake up, you'll like instantly dream.
Oh, because it thinks
Do you ever like
it
take a
thinks
nap
you're
like
s-
shortly after you wake up and you're like, it's like instant dream.
yeah.
And you're like, damn, like I felt like I was asleep for like 2 hours, but it was like 20, 30 minutes.
Because it almost immediately puts you into REM sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
You don't spend the whole night getting into that cycle.
Right. That's crazy. Dude, sleep is something that, I mean, obviously I know there's a lot of studies on it and stuff, but like just the brain itself, like that, when you said you had a degree in neuroscience, I was like, dude, that's awesome, because I think that that's something that not only as people, but just the human race in general, like we need to focus on more. There's so much other stuff that we try to focus on, and it's like we don't even understand our bodies.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, though, the body is so complex, and it's amazing. It truly is amazing, because you hear like these stories of crazy miracles that happen with the body, bro, and it's wild to even think that it can do some of the stuff that it does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So like the same time that I was looking into aviation, I applied to this master's program at University of Texas, and it was a master's in neuroscience, but the focus was on artificial intelligence in the brain.
That's
And this
neat.
was like, dude, this was like 3 or 4 years ago now.
So that was a precursor to what's going on now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like I kind of like I don't regret it by any means, but like because I know like that would have been hard. It
Yeah,
would have been hard.
extremely
which
hard.
There's nothing wrong. Like doing hard things is good. But I always think about now, like today's society, like
Yeah.
what I would be doing in that field.
If you would have pursued that,
Yeah.
dude.
'Cause I think that's super interesting. But they were talking about implementing like the actual human brain with artificial technology.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a whole
Well,
different.
that's kind of like Neuralink, what Neuralink is getting into.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll talk about, I'll say this just before we go into it. We'll talk about AI for just a second, but I don't want to talk about AI
No.
for too long, because it's scary right now, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's scary.
Like Kanye on a Drake track. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary. It's extremely scary, because me and him have had this conversation multiple times. It's like I'm kind of optimistic, although I'm optimistic about everything. But for instance, we'll throw music in there, or being a creator. It's hard to really be able to tell, and it will only get harder as time goes on, like what's real and what's not, right? And also, with that being said, I wonder how many people adopt AI's music or AI's artwork. Like, will it be something or something along the lines of, if people see that it's AI, it's kind of discredited. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if there's going to be like this whole niche of people that like, oh, it's AI art. Oh, AI art. Like, I wonder how it all plays out, and I wonder what, it changes in society and how we look at art, because it's coming to take over, man.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It's scary.
What are your thoughts on AI?
So I have two contrary thoughts. One is that I think there's definitely a niche of people that can appreciate it, and it gives them access to things that they couldn't do before.
Right.
Like, somebody that doesn't know how to take a photo, they type their art in. They have a creative mind, but they don't have access to a camera, for example. That gives them that ability.
Right.
But then there's also the discrediting factor of people that actually do that stuff, I guess. So I think for me, there's a middle balance. There's a middle ground of using AI to enhance the things you already do.
Right.
Without taking it away from others' creativity or others' art.
Right. See, and then even with you saying that, it brings to mind that there's different types of AI, which is also another scary thing. Because like you have Chat GPT, I think we're on like 3.5. Eventually it'll be at 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
But so that is more of like what we're talking about now, like content creation and artwork, and like, writing papers and stuff like that. The scary part about AI is, what does it turn into when every McDonald's? I literally just saw, actually, this is funny that I'm bringing this up. I saw McDonald's, it was like an ad or something. McDonald's is about to lay off tons of people. And I'm curious if that's because they're going to implement the new, it's like an automatic AI or automatic McDonald's. I think there's one in Texas. That's the first one. Have y'all seen this? Yeah, there's an automatic McDonald's. Like there's no employees there. But like I said, they're going to start laying off a bunch of people. So I wonder if they're going to try to implement that. And what better way to start than at a McDonald's?
Yeah.
A place that they have hundreds, You know what I mean? So it's going to be scary to see how that's implemented, but also like the Elon Musk Neuralink, stuff like that. There's so many different ways that AI is going to present itself. And actually, did you see recently that he even said himself, Elon Musk, and there's a bunch of people that are saying that there should be a
Oh
halt
yeah,
on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it's moving too rapidly.
Is it AI doing it itself though?
That's fine. That's what my biggest question is who dictates it?
Yeah.
Who's dictating it? The government? Not really. I don't
Yeah.
know. Elon Musk?
Do you think it's, just out of curiosity, do you think it's something like after you create the first one, it kind of, because you create one, the AI itself kind of pushes that knowledge to the other AIs, right? Or is it kind of like how is it progressing so fast? Or is it people, like what is there's got to be something that links it all together.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't understand, because I'm, like you said, or not like you said, I'm not big into like the technology and how AI is implemented and all that stuff, but it's wild, bro. It's extremely wild. And I think people like me, the GP, need to definitely worry about it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, that could be a whole podcast episode. With,
Oh
like,
yeah,
different
100%.
people,
That's
but
why I said I didn't want to talk about it for
Yeah.
too long.
But it is interesting to see where it's going to go. Like,
Yeah.
just to touch real quick on it, like you said about the McDonald's, that they're no employees.
Yeah,
It's like nobody really gets mad about that because it's like McDonald's employee.
yeah,
But then what happens when they start taking like people's jobs that society cares about?
yeah. Well, I mean, in reality, it's crazy because there's so many unemployed people, but they say they can't get hired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like when they take, I think fast food actually, we probably touched on this on the podcast because I kind of feel like I remember saying this, but there's so many fast food jobs. Once they make all those automatic, what are all those people that do the fast food jobs going to do? Like
Yeah.
what, like that's, unfortunately, this is just how it is, but that's what a lot of people like, especially to start off, if they don't go to college or they don't do anything, they find themselves working at food, which is not a bad thing. It's just what happens when those jobs aren't there. What
Yeah.
happens when they don't have the accessibility? Will it be something else, or will it just kind of be you snooze, you lose kind of deal?
Yeah.
That's going to be scary.
I feel like it's an interesting thought. If you think like 1,000 years ago, there was probably like, McDonald's wasn't a thing. There was probably some type of equivalent role in society of those people, I guess.
Yeah.
So, say 500.
Like the blacksmith, and then yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And say 500 years from now, or maybe even less, when there's no more of those fast food jobs.
Yeah.
Will those people have a role in society, or will they be the next beggar on the street, I guess,
Right.
for lack of a better term?
Well, so this is like kind of hinting back to like when we started the podcast, because this was a big thing, because it's weird. AI and like Web3 has kind of like been doing this. It's like, you know what I mean? Because Web3 is also really uncertain as well. But when we started the podcast, we would talk about how AI and, damn, bro, I lost my train of thought. Okay, give me 1 second. It'll come back. What's the last thing you just said?
We're talking about AI, McDonald's roles in society. Said 500 years. beggar
Yes.
on the
Okay.
street.
Okay. I got it. So, universal basic income, right? So we'll throw that in there. Universal basic income pretty much just implies that everybody gets a lump sum of money every month, right? So the reason I'm throwing that in there with AI is because it's kind of the same thing to me. If a bunch of people just start getting money and they don't need to work, what do they do with their time?
Mm-hmm.
Or if they don't have a job, what do they do with their time, right? I think one thing that'll be wild with AI is that because there will be lack of jobs, people will have to create more. Entertainment will be taken to even crazier levels. That's what I think, or it's just a theory, but that's kind of where I think we're headed, because the people that'll really be able to entertain, or the people that'll really be able to create, will truly get the benefits of the economy. Because if everything's automated, it's like, what else?
Yeah.
What else is there? If all jobs are automated, what else is there other than like entertainment, spending time with your family and stuff like that? What do you do?
Yeah, I think jobs will be created somehow.
Yeah.
But I think there's also those people that just won't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a 50-50 mix of that. And I'm curious what these new jobs would be. Like, are they maintaining the AIs? Like the mechanics of it?
Or
I don't know.
Or not even maintaining. What if it's just like building them?
Yeah.
Or couldn't you make an AI build an AI? That
Right.
that to me is crazy. An AI building an AI, it's a population just creating itself. That's so wild to think about. No, I know.
Yeah.
So it's like,
No, I know.
you can't say we didn't see shit like this coming.
Yeah.
At what point though did they just not need humans? Like at what point? You know what I mean? at what point does the world not need humans? You know what I mean? Because if the world runs, obviously that's crazy to say, but like, no, I mean, if AI becomes something with a brain of itself, it creates its own AIs, it has job and can consume its own content. That's going to be crazy. What if AI can consume content? Then you literally create. If an AI can consume content, you literally create a different species in theory, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, can't they already in a way? You know, like you upload a picture and it creates variations of it, right?
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I was about to say though, because like, okay, so imagine this AI posts a video on YouTube, and then it's an AI consumes that content. Who gets paid? What goes on with that? Also, if AI is creating other AIs and they're putting up skyscrapers themselves, it's literally like we're creating this whole other race.
Yeah. It is a race in a way.
Dude, that's so fucked to think about. It's very weird. It's so early. That's
Yeah.
my whole thing about it is
Yeah.
we're really so early into it that it's hard to make an assumption of how it's going to be or what it's going to look like.
But will we know it's too late until it's too late?
Oh, that's
That's
I
a
think
real
that's the
shit.
question. I literally think
Yeah.
that's the question. There's a reason why these trustworthy people are saying
Yeah.
that we need to cut back on it.
Yeah.
No, we'll get off AI though, because we're not just talking about AI. But is there anything else that you would like to specifically talk about? Tell any of the listeners that are watching from your side.
I kind of want
Anything
to say one more thing about it.
Go for it, bro. Go for it. If you have something
So-
that comes to mind.
So right, they talk about in aviation about like robotic like humanless
Pilots.
planes. Yeah, or humanless planes. Yeah,
Yeah.
like robotic planes or AI controlled planes. And the general consensus, as I understand in the aviation community, is that in our lifetime it'll never happen. And I agree with that sentiment because there's already this anti-automated cars.
Yeah.
Right. So like there's already a huge group of people that don't accept that. Not to mention the amount of people that already won't even get on a plane, not to mention a plane being flown by a robot.
There's just so much that can go wrong.
Yeah.
There's so much that can go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I definitely. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't think that happens in our lifetime.
Yeah,
If
not
it
in our
does, there
lifetime.
would have to be some type of crazy advancement that we don't know about yet.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, like you said, there's enough people that won't even get on a plane with a pilot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nonetheless, controlled by a
Yeah.
robot.
Oh my gosh, I just had a funny memory. So one day I was flying, and I think I was flying to Dallas, and I was in the tunnel, like walking to the plane, but not like in the tunnel, like right in the plane, but kind of like the tunnel with windows and like the part of the building.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So we were walking through that, and bro, I'm sitting there looking out the window, looking at the plane and like looking at the dark sky. And I'm talking to my buddy, and I'm like, man, I hope we get there safe. I hope this pilot gets there. And bro, the pilot walks up behind me and he's like, yeah, I hope I get there too. And I was just like, shit. I was like, what am I supposed to say now? Like, good luck. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know what to say. And I was just like, oh, I think I was just like, oh, my bad. He was like, oh, no, it's good, man. It was just something funny to laugh at because like, I'm literally joking about the guy that has my life in his hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
And then you obviously made it there safely.
oh yeah,
But-
yeah, it was good.
But
It was good.
that's pretty funny.
I think it's awesome when everybody claps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the end when you land. And
I can't
everybody's
say I
like,
don't want that moment because I do, but I do always cringe when it happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, bro, okay, let's put it this way. There is probably definitely like a 60-year-old little grandma that's like, oh my God, I hope we get there. And then like when she gets there, it's like, her life can continue. It's a big moment. You know what I mean? So they're excited. They got to
Yeah.
clap. You know what I mean? But no, like I said, before you want to say the last thing about AI, is there anything specific you'd like to say to the people watching from your side? Anything you want to say that's coming up, content wise, specifically for them, or anything like that?
Yeah, man. So I got two new music videos dropping with my boy Cool Trav. I'm super hyped because I'm headed out to Napa Valley at the end of this month with my boy Jackson Young. We're going to film a wedding out there, which
That'll
is
be
like
fun.
wedding is not even something I do really, but she's one of my best friends from college, and plus we're going to Napa Valley, California,
There you go.
on 420. So
Oh.
but besides the point. Yeah, man. But I would love if you guys checked out this film, short film called Archer Juliet by my boy Sam Martin of F2.0 Visuals. You can see that on his YouTube. All about my aviation adventure and a little bit about what we talked about today. And I wanted to say thanks to Zane for having me today.
Yes, sir. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that we plan on getting touched on?
I fucked with the beginning part of it when you like, 'cause, bro, people would shit the bed if they like get that degree and did all that shit.
Yeah.
And, like,
Oh yeah. I mean, dude, when you texted me and said that was the best moment of your life not getting in, I was like, dude, that's such a good story. Oh,